So this is the second part of the API specialist training session, mandatory thing you should attend to. So congratulations, you're halfway through session-wise. And we're going to try and talk a little bit about more advanced use cases. So I'm Gijsbert Jansen van Doren, and I make the same joke every time I do a session, that the first 30 minutes about pronouncing my name. And it never happens. And we're going to talk about the more advanced ways of scripting, use cases, and I'm trying to take you through Swagger as well. That's the API framework we use for our Zerto Analytics API, because Zerto Analytics looks nice, but you can also pull all the data from it using the API and use that in your own environment, like VROPS integration, monitoring tools, configuration management, whatever you want. So let's get advanced. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk about some of the advanced editors, and a lot of what you see now is you already heard it on the other session as well. Talked about editors. We're going to talk a little bit about VMware PowerCll and why, because it works great, and we use it in the script I'm going to walk you through. Then it's a little bit of a demo time. The bring it on is in the end. Bring it on is where I'll try, and this is the tricky part, script something for you that you bring to me. So hopefully it isn't too advanced because I won't have time. But I'll promise you I'll deliver it, let's say, within a month after ZertoCon. And I'll tell you if it's realistic or not. Let's make it smart. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some API stuff we have coming up. Because there's more API goodness coming up in Delmore, in our 6.5 release, and all the other releases. So APIs are actually enhancements to the API, something we release not only in like major versions, but also in the update releases, because it has relatively low impact. High satisfaction, low impact. So let's talk about the editors. I switched recently to Visual Studio Code because it has debugging, breakpoints, IntelliSense, all kinds of plugins in there. And if you're really into the old PowerShell coding and creating advanced script, it's really easy to use, especially the breakpoints and the debugging. So if you're, I'm not saying a coder, but if you really like PowerShell and really like working with those scripts, I definitely recommend using Visual Studio Code. Who else uses it in here? Great, no PowerShell ISE fanboys, because they've been bugging me about now switching to Visual Studio Code. But I think it's better, to be honest. So VMware PowerCll. This is a quote from, of course, a VMware website. That is the best tool for automating management and configuration of VMware vSphere. Now, at certain points in time, we'll need to pull information from your vSphere environment and use it to feed the Zerto API to do certain things. Now, luckily, it's really easy to install. As of a few versions ago, they've got a module, so the only thing you need to type is right there, and you have it available in your PowerShell environment, and you can start using it. So how I'm going to use it, I'll show you as soon as we start walking through the script. Basically, it's getting information from VMs, moving VMs to folders, starting migrations, all these kind of things is what you can do using PowerCll. And I'm pretty sure most of you have already used it, or not. So, all familiar with PowerCll? Who is? Oh, that's easier question, right? Yeah, wonderful. So let's start coding. So what are we going to do? So I'm going to walk through a specific type of script that's a little bit more advanced than just pulling information from Zerto. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you automated VM protection. So how does it work? We have a folder structure in vCenter. That's what we need. That's what we're basing the VPG names on. That's what we're basing boot groups on and those kind of things. So what we do is we create a folder called ZVR VMs to protect. That's where we're going to place the VMs that we want to protect. Then we're going to create a folder that has a name, and that's the name we're going to use for the virtual protection group. And below that, we're going to create boot groups. Now, in this example, I only use 2. So first it starts the first group, then it starts the second group. And under those groups, we're going to place the VMs, basically move them to that folder. Now, as soon as the script runs, and you can actually run it automatically, like every hour or so, as soon as it detects VMs in those folders, it will start the creation process. It will create a VPG based on a VPG profile. And we can predefine those profiles by using a CSV file. So basically, if we look at the CSV file, it will show you what's the recovery cluster, journal settings, target RPO, target journal, those kind of things. So you can all predefine that. You can have multiple profiles. So you can different types of SLAs on those VPGs. And it will automatically create the VPG based on those settings. So again, it supports boot order, which is nice. We can add a third one if we want to. Right now, I limited it to 2 because I only have 1 session. And it uses the predefined VPG profiles in a CSV file. Now, we're going to use our VPG management API to actually create those VPGs. Now, the VPG management API is something that I can pull the settings from the API. I can create VMs. I can change VPG settings. So that's the more advanced version of our VPG API. It's the VPG management API. And what we're going to do in the script is basically build the JSON code to send to the API to be able to create those VPGs. Now, we talk a lot about JSON. So who is this JSON guy? JSON is basically a way to send data back and forth. So it's a syntax to store and exchange data with an API. So what does it look like? It's a structured way to present data. Now, let's see if this pointer works. Yes. I don't want to shine in someone's eye. It's still lasers, right? So this is a backup, 0. We're not going to do backup. Then there's the settings, basic. And then we have sub-settings under the basic. So you can see it the way it's formatted. It's readable as well. So you as a user, you can look at the JSON, and it's pretty clear what you're trying to do. And this is a structure which is in our documentation. You can just go to our website, download the documentation, or watch the HTML version, and you can see what kind of JSON we expect you to send to the API. So what we're going to do in the script is basically create that JSON for you, and then send it to the API to create the VPGs. Now, we're going to walk through the code. I'm not going to walk you through every single line of code. You don't have to read all the code. Otherwise, we should have started in the morning. But we're going to step by step go through the script and go through the code and show you how it works, what we do, and what kind of PowerShell commands and maybe PowerCll commands we use. So the first thing we need to do is import the VPG profiles. We need to know what kind of settings we need to use to be able to create that JSON, to be able to create and set the right settings. Now, importing, it's the easy part. Import CSV. It couldn't be easier. See how easy PowerShell is? It's not even advanced. It just imports that file, and everything, all the data in that file, will be stored in the profile CSV import variable. Now, because we have multiple VPG profiles in that CSV, and we're only using 1 in this script, so if you want to create VPGs based on multiple profiles, you'll need multiple scripts. Sorry about that. Didn't make it more advanced for now. Maybe if I have time. Now we need to set the, or actually, sorry about that, create the variables of all the settings that we're going to use throughout the script. But because we only use a single one, I need to place them in a different variable. So this is where I do where the profile number equals the profile number that I defined in the script. So otherwise, I would be filling it with 2 values, and we wouldn't know what to do. So now I'm filling them with 1 single value. Make sense? Any questions up until now? Good. Wonderful. So now we have all these variables we can use to create the JSON to add the right data to the JSON file or the JSON structure. So the next step is, well, let's see if there's actual VMs in that folder. So now we're starting to use the PowerCll. So what we do is we get VM means getting the VM information, getting the VM data, settings. So what I do here is I get VM star, meaning all the VMs, wildcard, where the location is the VMs to protect vCenter folder name. So we can define our own folder name. So I just called it ZVR VMs to protect. You can call it, this is what I want to protect, or look at this nice stuff, whatever you want. And we're only selecting a few of the settings we're pulling from that command, meaning the name and the folder they're in. Because we're going to use that data to also determine the VPG name. So I'm pulling the name of the VM and the folder it's in. And that includes the subfolder it's in. Remember the structure? So VPG name, boot group, VM name. So if I only have the folder what it's in, it's the boot group. So I also need to know the parent folder. So next up, we're going to add the VMs to an array. An array is basically a table that I can search through using PowerShell. And maybe the PowerShell purists in here disagree with me. We'll discuss afterwards. Because I know I'm between you and alcoholic beverages right now, so I'll try to limit the amount of time I use. So what are we doing? For every VM that we imported from the folders, we're going to walk through it and look, OK, what's the name of the VM? OK, we're going to set the VPG name. And this is where I use the folder part that I pulled from the getVM command and use that folder name as the VPG name. I also going to fill the boot group, so I know exactly which VM needs to be in what boot group. And I'm going to add all that to that table or array. So now I have the data of the VMs I need to protect with the VPG names. Makes sense, right? Hopefully. So what's next? We need to build a list of virtual protection groups that we want to create, because we can create multiple protection groups. If there's multiple folders with multiple boot group folders underneath, I need to create multiple virtual protection groups. That's easier because in that array, I can select only the VPG name and give them and only sort them by unique. So that means now I have a list of unique VPG names that I need to create. It could be 1, it could be 3, 7. It's now in that VPGs to create variable. So next up, what do we have now? We have the settings of the virtual protection group. So that means I can know exactly what the VPG needs to look like. History settings, boot groups, target RPOs, SLA settings, those kind of things. I have a list of the VPGs we need to protect. And those are stored in the VPGs to create variable. I also have a list of VMs, including the boot group, that I need to place in those VPGs in an array called ZVR array. That could have been a better descriptive name, by the way. But hey, I coded it, so you can complain with me. So let's start creating the VPGs. But there's something missing. We need more data, actually. So what do we actually need? So we have a list of names. We can protect those. We know the VPGs they are in. But to be able to talk to Zerto and our API, we need the IDs as we know them in Zerto. So I'm going to need IDs. So what am I doing now? I'm using the API of Zerto and list the VMs. So we have a list or an API called virtualization sites, top of my head. But we can list the unprotected VMs. And while we list them, we can get their names, but also the VM ID that we know them by, that Zerto knows them by. So what we're going to do now is basically get that information, add that VM ID to the array, so I know both the name and the ID, because I need the ID to be able to create that JSON syntax. And do that for every VM, of course, that we have. Any questions? Wow, good. It's going to be a short session. No, kidding. I'll make it long. We need more IDs, because I need to know what is the site I want to replicate to. If I have multiple sites, and it's actually, I defined the target site in that CSV file, in that profile, VPG profile file, I need to get the IDs of those sites as well. There's a lot more IDs I need. I want to know, I'm replicating to a data store, so I need the IDs from the data store as well. So we're using, I didn't put all the code in here because it basically looks the same. So the target site, we're pulling that from the Zerto API using the virtualization sites, which basically lists all the sites we know in Zerto and shows the ID as well. We pull the ID from that and we put that in the right variable. So we can use it again to populate the JSON structure we need. Now, let's put it in the right JSON format. Now, to create a VPG, that's a lot of JSON, so I didn't put that on the screen because you would not be able to read it or want to read it. So basically what we're doing, we have this basic structure of the JSON syntax that we need to create the VPGs, and we're just adding all the information we just pulled from the API. So we're adding the VM IDs, we're adding the boot group IDs, apologies. We're adding the sites, the number of journal history we want to keep, the name of the VPG, and once that is all in there, we can start the script. It will find those VMs, or not. If there's no VMs, we'll report that. We'll say there's no VMs, so there's nothing to do. If we find VMs, we're going to create the VPG, and we're going to make it work. Now for the exciting part. I'm going to show how it works. And it's a live demo, so bear with me. If it doesn't work, believe me, I've seen it work. Absolutely. I've definitely seen it work. I'm not lying, honest. So let me open up my VPN connection right now and do it live in my labs. Yes, you don't see anything now. I'll make sure I'll fix that. Any questions in the meantime? Have you already started thinking about what you might want to ask me for you to build? Or maybe you have a use case that I can work on and show how I would do it? I'll give you another few minutes. So let's open up the wonderful HTML5 interface of vSphere. That's not feature ready yet. Anyone else using the 5 interface? The HTML5 interface? 6.5 or 6? How is 6.5? I haven't tested it yet. 6.7? It's now feature complete, isn't it?
No, but it's much better.
Okay. I trust you. Because this is not great, to be fair.
They said they guarantee feature complete by August.
Well, software companies can guarantee a lot of stuff. Anyone using the APIs actively now, like scripting or integration or pulling information from it? Yeah. Trying to find a name. Ah, yeah. I've seen you before. I think last year. No? Okay. So I mean, we see an uptake in API usage, and also from the questions we get. There's a lot of companies out there that are trying to automate more and more and more. They're trying to find use cases, but also being more and more creative with the whole pre and post recovery scripting. So I've seen people actually initiating recovery of physical hosts as part of the VPG workflow. So what they've done is as a pre-recovery script, they initiate a recovery of a physical database server to their other data center. They wait until it completes, and then they'll start the front-end VMs. So yes, we cannot protect physical machines, but we can orchestrate the recovery of it as a single workflow using the VPG. So I thought that was a pretty interesting use case. In the meantime, I'm still logging into this wonderful HTML5 interface. Has anyone, could you please shut off your Wi-Fi on the phones right now? No, just kidding, just kidding. Would help, but you don't have to do it. I've never been at a show or a conference where we had really blazingly fast Wi-Fi or internet, so we'll survive. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop up this the web interface of the HTML5 interface, and I'm going to put in a folder structure to see if it's actually going to work. So let me, I have to take down MC Hammer. Let me show you the screen. Which way is it? There we are. I drag it that way and it shows up on both sides. The magic of technology. So I have a test VM in a boot group in my VPG. I have another test VM in another folder called my VPG2. And it will create these VPGs as soon as I run the script. And I'll show you, and I'll prove it to you, that will actually work. So I'm pulling up my Visual Studio Code right now. I'm nervous now. There you go. No. Other side. This is confusing. So here's the script. This is where we start doing everything. Logging stuff, if it works, yes or no. See, there's a lot more to the script than meets the eye. See, that's what I like about Visual Studio Code. In the right side, you have this really tiny overview of all your code, so you can see what you've done. And I have a challenge to actually make it as long as possible now. And you can scroll in that as well. So I think see, technology is quite confusing, so what I'll do is duplicate my screen just to make it sure that I'll see it, because almost there. Bear with me for a second. There you go. Now I can see. So let's start this script. Ooh, before I do that, let's open up the ZVM to make sure that we can actually see what we're doing and prove to you that it works. That makes sense. I've been found out. They're coming for me. Apparently my passport wasn't valid long enough, so 6 months is not long enough. Well, 5 months and 29 days was not long enough, so I got a nice interview at Border Patrol, but they still let me in. So there we are. We can start it now. This is demo time, right? Love it. Let's start it. Maybe I have to do live troubleshooting. That will be nicer as well. So let's see what we're doing. Ooh. See? Live troubleshooting. Oh, never mind. Apologies. See, this is where I said I'd like breakpoints. I lied. Stop it. Now this is better. Please, pretty please, work. Yes, I got an error message. That's good. That's live troubleshooting. That's what I like. See, there we go. Did it create anything? No. Wonderful. That's good. Yes. See how this is cool? So we have an error message. Maybe I did this on purpose. Maybe I didn't. Who would know? Endpoint not found. So there's an error somewhere. You see what it's saying? Exception occurred in API. Setting validation failed. Wrong post-operation timeout format. Value 0. Now this is cool because what I actually done on my lab, and this happens all the time in actual real life production workloads. I've upgraded to a pre-alpha build I found somewhere on a hidden share on our development stations to demo some of the new features we have. One of the new features is that we have better settings validations in scripts. So I actually made a mistake, and I used an invalid type of setting. So what we're going to do, we're going to simply correct that by making sure that the post-operation timeout is not 0, but we'll put it on 300. Make sense? Not saying anything weird, right? That's the actual error message. That's what I like, error messages that I can use. So we'll go to the script, find the right JSON, where we define the JSON format. It's a little bit lower in the script. And there is somewhere hidden inside this, there would be a timeout in seconds. And I think this was the right one. Am I correct? Help me out. Yes, I could have searched, but hey. Not in the debug window. It doesn't really work that well. It's not all wonderful. See, we just changed the timeouts, all of them. Let's see. Did I fix it? So as soon as we see red, it doesn't work anymore. That's basically what I'm telling you. Oh, look at that. And there we are. We're creating a VPG. Now, actually, there's a timeout between creating. I'm not creating all the VPGs at the same time, so there's a timeout between them. Can't really remember what the timeout was. I think I made a little bit less for this specific session, just to make sure that I'm not running out of time, because I'm already talking for half an hour. And I really want to show you the Swagger interface as well. 60 seconds. Oh, wow, another minute. So first, I created the VPG. So my VPG is created. It's actually already syncing. Ooh, it's bitmap syncing. Something is happening in my demo environment. Actually, there's this is also running on the demo booths in front of the. So they might be messing with me right now. I might be surprising them right now. Yes. And hang on. Boop. And there we are. My VPG2. So what we also do in the script is as soon as as they're protected, we're moving the VMs to a different folder, using again the PowerCll, just moving them to a folder that, oh, the VMs are protected now. So you know that worked because we've moved them to that folder. So now if I would run it again, there would be no VMs in that folder structure. If we look at the vSphere environment, see, they're all gone now. and we should have a folder that says ZVR protected VMs, and we actually move those VMs into that folder. Now you can make this as complex as you want. You can have like a whole folder structure to actually move the VMs into using maybe VPGs names, like created these VPGs with these VMs. I'll leave that up to you as soon as you find this script on the GitHub of the technical marketing team, and you can change it to whatever you want. Because now, I mean, as soon as you've done this session, you can start the certification, you're API specialist. So hey, you can do all kinds of pretty stuff. So wow, the demo worked. I'm really relieved right now. So next up, and I'll not bore you with the large slide because I'll have to go down to something else as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Zerto Analytics API. Now, for Zerto Analytics, we decided to go with Swagger. And Swagger, who's familiar with Swagger? Good. I'm going to show exactly how it works, or exactly a little bit how it works. Swagger is a framework that basically automatically documents. It's so much easier to work with also from a development side, but especially from an end user perspective. Because it's automatic documentation, it allows you to send requests from a HTML5 interface, see what kind of response you get back, and with Zerto Analytics, it's like a true API first approach. So anything you can see in analytics, you can actually pull also from the API. And because Zerto Analytics is delivered as a software as a service platform, we actually allow you to, we allow ourselves to develop it much faster. So when, let's say we release 5.5 or 6, we don't have to time updates to Zerto Analytics with like regular releases. We can update it as fast as we want. We can add features as we want, et cetera, et cetera. So actually, we added one of the latest things we added is a filter to filter by Zorg. So let's say you're a CSP and you want information from your customer. You can actually filter on the Zorg name or Zerto organization name. But I just like Zorg better. And you can use that in the API as well. So let's say you want to integrate the analytics of Zerto Analytics into your own portal. You can just pull that information from the API. So I'll try to give you a quick demo on how that works. And this is the demo that always works because it's software as a service and there's not people upgrading it to pre-alpha builds at night. So this is Zerto Analytics API. It's publicly available. You can just use it yourself, pull the data from it, see what you can do with it. Actually, there's a blog article on the Zerto blogs right now that shows you how to pull information from the API and put it in an XML format that you can import into PRTG. I'm not sure if you're familiar with PRTG. It's a monitoring tool. There are a gazillion of those tools out there. But it will show you that you can just easily pull that information and actually use it in, let's say, an alerting tool or some kind of other analytics tool to put all kinds of stuff on top of that. It's wonderful. You can do, I mean, limitless. So first thing we need to do is authenticate. That's the same thing in our own API. We need to authenticate. So we use the bearer way here. I read about how it got to that name. I forgot it. But it had to do something with a bear. True story.
Cold beer.
A cold beer. Are you messing with me now that I'm between you and cold beer? So, also using JSON. So what I can do now is I can manipulate the JSON syntax that I'm going to send to the API and then see the response. And what this is actually going to do is going to send my username and password. Could everyone close their eyes? Yeah, I use my PIN code everywhere. It's easier to remember. And I have to look at Aaron right now. Is it lab 28 or user 28? User, right? Yes, you are right. User 28. Oh no, I know this one. I know because it's programmed in my fingers right now. So and now I can execute it. So what it actually will do is now it will just send this JSON code to our API and show you the response, all in a nice web interface. So let's see if I took an existing user. No. Not an existing user. That's wonderful. Oh, hang on. See, now the question is which user?
The email might be labs28, actually.
Lab or labs?
Labs.
See, this is nice. Username and password, just because I didn't want to use my own. Who used our labs and remembers his username?
There's a 25 in it.
Oh, there's a. Was it user? See? See? That's why we have smart people here. So, well. Sorry? What was it? See? The password is true, right? That's. Yeah, that's for the labs. See? Nah.
Zero labs. Definitely not for zero labs.
So we have a backup plan. User 35. I'm going to try it once and then I'm sick of it. It hates me. So, luckily, there's always a backup plan. You know, we talk about backup a lot now. I have a backup plan. There you go. Look at that. I get a token back. It worked. So this is what I'm going to use to authenticate to the API, and then in all my API calls I fire off afterwards, I'm actually going to use this token to authenticate. As easy as that. So I'm just copy pasting the token. Go to authorize. So what's the value? I'm going to paste the thing in there. Say authorize, and it should go back with authorized. See, I'm authorized now. So basically what I can do now is kind of start to use any type of API call I want. So let's get some data out of the interface. So I want a list of sites. Okay, there's no API response here, so give me just a list of sites. Try it out, execute. So now it will show you exactly how it responded. So it will give me all the JSON code I would actually also get back when doing this in code, in PowerShell, the invoke REST method. And this is the structure it will send it back in. So you know exactly what type of information is in there. So it's really easy to show you what kind of responses you would get and what kind of data you can use. And it basically guides you through how you would pull information from this API. It show you exactly which one. So now I went to, and as JP told you in the other session, it's basically just accessing a website and pulling information from that. So now we're at, I have to take it a little bit higher, /v2/monitoring/sites. So that's where I'm sending off the get command, and I'm getting this back. And the response is this. So I can do that for any type of API call I see here. And this is what's in there. So if I want to get a RPO report, I want to see what kind of tasks are running in my entire environment. Because remember, Zerto Analytics is multi-site. So this gathers all the information of all the ZVMs. So if I would like to do the same thing on the ZVM, and this is why I like analytics a lot, I would have to connect to each and every ZVM to get that information. Now, I have Zerto Analytics, single endpoint, and I can pull all that information from all the ZVMs that I have available. So these are all the tasks, history of tasks, giving it back to me. If I would pull this into PowerShell, I could use that, use the tasks for other stuff, monitoring if the tasks are still running, for whatever I would like to do with it. Integrate it with, for example, VRO. The automated VM protection, you can run it standalone. You can make it part of a VRO workflow. So I'm creating a new VM, putting it in the right folder, and import it so the VPGs get automatically created. So that's quite easy. I have only a couple of minutes left, right? 5 minutes left. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about use cases and how you script and what you want to script. I'll be here the entire day tomorrow as well, because I don't think we have a lot of time to actually do anything live right now. So let's continue. So what's next? For a Delmore release, we're looking at adding more and more API calls and more features to the API. One of them is file level recovery through the API. So it actually allow you to mount the disk, but also pull the file from it. So one of the use cases for this is test dev environments. So I was at a customer a while ago, and they asked me, okay, can I use Zerto for test and dev as well? I said, well, depends. What do you want to do? And they don't want to use offsite clone. They don't want to use, sorry about that. They don't want to use failover test. What they want to do is they build clean database service based on the code they want to test, and just pull the database file into it and start the database services. That's how they've been doing it. That's what they want to do. Fine. So what they can do now, just run a script on that VM, pull that file directly from the API, from the FLR, and use that in their test dev environment. So it opens up a lot of possibilities as well. Move operation support. Well, it's easy. Use the move operation from the API. Automate your migrations. If you do mass migrations, schedule them, those kind of things. And pre-seed support in our VPG creation API. So allow you to use the files that are already on the other side using the API. So if you want to mass create VPGs, you want to automate other things like one-to-many, you do a failover from A to B, and you now want to reset the replication to code from B to C, that's what you can do now using the pre-seed API. And that was it. Any questions? Yes.
The VPG automation script that you demoed, is that available in anything other than PowerShell by chance?
By chance? No, sorry. No. I love PowerShell.
We hate PowerShell.
I think you should readjust that opinion. No. So what are you using? Python?
Yeah,
okay.
preferably.
Preferably, okay. So I am looking at Python and changing some of the scripts to Python. With PowerShell core on Linux, we're testing that as well. So we see more PowerShell requests coming in than Python requests. So right now, everything we build is basically in either curl if we want to do it on Linux, because it's really easy, or PowerShell. So unfortunately, you have to get like a really smart Python coder. So the logic, by the way, is really easy to translate to Python. So the logic, you can get that from PowerShell.
Was your example script, did it use the PowerShell API or the REST API?
It uses the REST API. Now, as you've heard from Tamir in the other session, there's Tamir. I don't use any of the commandlets. I do everything through the API. So all the scripts that are on the technical marketing GitHub are PowerShell REST API only. So they're PowerShell scripts only using the REST API. So they're not depending on any type of commandlets, other than PowerCll commandlets maybe.
I have a question. What about translating this into doing it with Hyper-V? I know you're relying a lot on PowerCll, but what about this same type of concept maybe coming from a Hyper-V environment?
Logic is, I think actually get VM is the same on Hyper-V as it is on VMware. So we could do the same.
Any pointers on where to start there? I have a big Hyper-V migration to VMware that I have to go through, and this would help a lot in their creating VPGs for 5,000 machines.
That would be a nice project. I have to check with Tamir. Is Mariana here as well? I think Hyper-V is in the create VPG management settings as well. Yeah, support it. So yeah.
Can you advance the slide once so people can see the cert code
Oh.
while you're answering questions?
What do I want to see? Oh, sorry. Yes, I forgot that one. Support code. Please don't forget the support code. Don't hate.
Cert code.
Automate. Take a picture. You need that to get certified.
Yes.
So yeah, we could do that. I think the only difference is that a bunch of like different settings, but you could definitely rewrite the code and change some of the values in. So we try to keep it as similar as possible. But of course, it's different because it's Hyper-V. But I think a lot of what's in that script, you can reuse. And I'd love to get back to you. So if you could leave your email address with me, I'll have a quick look. Uh-oh. Tamir again. He's hijacking my session.
No,
Hijack him.
I think someone raised it, and I'm wondering, what if I think a lot of people are asking about examples to be used, and I'm wondering what if we do have a GitHub of marketing,
Yes.
but is that something that you're looking into, assuming you're writing something, is that something you're looking into making it more open source or contributing once you've figured out a way to do something, share it to the community and get knowledge from it? So who would use something like a public Git?
Good, I love it.
All right, definitely something we need to explore. Thank you.
So yeah, tech marketing, GitHub. I think most of our things that we build, the things that are in the white paper are on there as well, and probably a little bit more up to date than they are in the white paper. It's easier to update GitHub than a PDF file. So all those scripts are in there as well. So if there's no further questions, again, I'll be around today, tonight. Oh, question, yes. Yes.
How can we secure the password on the JSON so nobody else can see it?
So on the JSON, so
like
in
you
the
were entering the username and password.
So there's several ways. So there's a password vault type of thing in PowerShell. Other languages have the same method. You can basically encrypt variables as well. I've just done the lazy way right now, but you can definitely do that. So there are many, many ways to do that. If you Google send encrypted passwords to PowerShell, if you want to use PowerShell. Python has the same thing. Okay. Well, enjoy the beer,
Yeah,
and take the exam, take the training. Any questions? I'll be here tomorrow, tonight. Oh, let's do it tomorrow. Enjoy the party as well. Thank you.